Hey everybody, how's it going? Anish Majumdar here, career coach to the fiercely ambitious, and I want to focus this video on arguably what I think is one of the must-know things you gotta know going into any situation where you're trying to advance your career prospects. Like, I don't care if you're looking for a better job, if you're looking to change industries, if you're looking to get that long-delayed promotion, you gotta know this. This is about your frame. And it's about understanding that it's on you to choose, select, and if necessary, change your frame. And if you've never heard the word frame before, you're really going to get some value, I think, out of this video here. So let me give you a little story that just sort of explains it. When I was about 15 years old, I was deeply shy, deeply introverted. I had no real idea what I was going to do with my life. I was in high school, and one lunch hour, I passed by the auditorium where the drama teacher, Mr. Flowen, was having rehearsals for the latest Shakespeare play. That was a big tradition in our school. It was very well known, and for some reason, I still don't know why. I don't know what the impetus was behind doing this, but I saw that sign for that audition. And I remembered it. And the next day, I came back there, and I'd never gone on stage before. I'd never performed before. I had no background in any of that. But for some reason, I went up there with this dusty volume of Shakespeare, and I recited with my head down this monologue, as my audition. And amazingly enough, the drama teacher saw something in me. I was taken on board that production. I was with all of these older students. I was exposed to the incredible freedom of being able to express yourself on stage. It's amazing because as shy and introverted as you can be, no matter what your personality is, going on stage, seeing the audience there gives you the liberty to express all of the things that you don't feel comfortable expressing, So it was great freedom, and I was learning with all of these people, and I loved this world and the sense of community. It was incredibly useful for me because I was deeply alone and introverted. My family life was terrible. We were dealing with a lot of mental health issues on my mom's side, so I needed it, And so that started me down this journey of becoming an actor, okay? So that by the time I graduated high school, most of my senior year, I was excused because I was doing a Shakespeare in the Park assignment, my first gig as an actor. Again, touring around the US and Canada, being exposed to all of these different forms of life and living, all these older actors, it was extremely inspiring, and it really felt like this was my freedom. And as I started growing into that, of course, my identity was affected by what I did, right? I'm looking at all of these successful actors, I'm looking at this whole world, and because I want to belong, a huge part of my identity as Anish is tied up with Anish the actor, right? So my profession and my identity starts to blend to a degree. And that's all fine and good, even though, of course, when you start to do that, the successes and failures, you feel it 10 times more because you feel like it's some kind of a reflection on your self-identity. That's what I did until I was in my 20s, and I reached a point where the acting career was just not doing it for me. I was still alone. I still felt like I wasn't growing the way that I wanted to. Creatively, I felt very unfulfilled because I was starting to realize that I couldn't spend my life waiting for frankly, mostly white screenwriters to write me, an Indian person, the ideal role. The chances are remote, And I was really asking myself, do I want to spend my life at the beck and call of others, And I was starting to answer that no. And so during that period of time, I had started up a sideline. Now keep in mind, I'm using this word very intentionally. I started up a sideline as a journalist, right? So I was writing articles for magazines. I was doing well doing that. I was doing very well doing that. But in my mind, it was never anything more than a sideline. So that business, the writing business, the journalism aspect of what I did, never grew beyond a certain point because it was only there to serve me and my frame as Anish the actor. There was no frame as Anish the journalist or Anish the author or Anish the writer because I didn't want that frame, right? And I wasn't willing to concede that. It all had to feed this original dream of mine. Well, what happened is that I got into that. I wrote a book. And the desire to get this book published, again, which I'd never done before, brought me to New York City. And I was living illegally at that time. And my whole acting career up to that point stalled out because, you need working papers, you need a visa at least, you need all of these things. So despite me meeting with agents and doing all of that stuff, I couldn't act. So that Anish as actor frame stopped. And yes, there was a grieving period. Yes, there was a period of deep uncertainty. Yes, it felt like a huge part of my self-identity had been ripped away, you know? That's what happens when your frame and who you are really tightly intermingled like that. And yet, in that vacuum, I started seeing this new life for myself. Why couldn't I be a writer? Why couldn't I be an author? Why couldn't I make that the new frame of identity, right? Why couldn't I go down that road? And so slowly, over the period of a couple of years, that's what happened. That frame started changing. And that path as a journalist and an author led me towards career coaching. It led me towards building this business. And it led me to have the privilege where I'm speaking with you today. Yet another frame, right? Anish the career coach is now here. Not Anish the writer or Anish the author or Anish the actor. And here is my point, okay? And it's so critically important. Number one, you are not your frame. Whatever job you are doing right now, I don't care how long you've done it or how deeply you feel it's intrinsic to who you are. There is a difference between you, the person, and you, the professional frame that you have chosen to adopt for expediency. Understand, me as a career coach, there are certain things I'm going to communicate with you. There's a vibe, there's an energy, there's a whole thing there, right? That's an aspect of my persona that I am sharing with you right now. Okay? And that is not the summation of who I am, right? It's just a part of it. And so understand this, your frame is not who you are. And also, you can swap out any frames that you want at any time and be absolutely fine because you are more than the frame. You are the creator of frames. You can adopt any frame you want depending on the goal that you have. But you do not have to feel like it is a life or death thing ever because you will survive regardless. And here's how it applies to you in your career. I want you to ask yourself, question number one, okay? What is my current frame? How do people perceive me? You know, there was a period of time early on in this path that I'm on here where I was writing resumes. And I had changed and broadened beyond simply that for a while. But most people saw me as a resume writer, right? And so their idea of all I could do was framed in and hemmed in by that. Even though I had worked on a linked hired system, which is my exclusive system for the job search and all this other stuff, right? I was using that stuff. That was still the frame. So that was my current frame. So question number one is, what is your current frame right now? Understand the way people are looking at you right now. Question number two, what is the future frame? What is the frame that you want to be playing at? If you're a senior manager and you want to be playing at the VP level, the VP level of whatever it is that you do, marketing, business development, whatever, right? That frame is your future frame. Right? That's what you're shooting towards. That's the perception change we're looking to make happen. And finally, question three, what is the overlap between those who are at the future frame you want to be applying at and being perceived at and what you do now? Because those aspects which has the current overlap, the things that you can immediately start using to project a new frame at that new level, that's what you need to be promoting right now in everything that you do. And I mean resume, LinkedIn, face-to-face interview strategy. You need to be promoting those things while you're learning and filling in any gaps that you may not have at that frame. Understand, you are not the frame, okay? And right now, as I'm recording this video, my wife is very, very pregnant. She might very well deliver anytime within the next couple of days. And so I'm asking myself those questions because because this is something that's larger than your career. It's life, you know. What is the frame, you know? Once I couldn't imagine being a father. Then I was a father of one, right? Then I was a father of two. New frame, new frame, new frame. I don't know what the future frame is going to be, but I know that there's something within me that can create these frames, and I'm strong enough to accept the turbulence that comes with switching out and adopting a new one. So can you. You can adopt any frame you want. Do not ever believe those naysayers, those bosses, those people who don't understand you, who say, don't dream, don't reach, don't change. You don't know what's out there. There was a period of time when you didn't know anything about what was out there. And yet here you are. You have survived and you have thrived and you can change more than you ever think you could. Trust me on that, okay? So just remember, choose your frame. Whatever that frame is, you choose it. Never allow it to be chosen for you, because when people do that, they will always undervalue you. You take ownership of that and run with it, because I know you can. Thank you guys so much for your time. I'll talk to you soon.